Ron had an appointment at 5. Ron may assume.
Yeah, he was planning to come. I know Brad wasn't coming. Haven't heard from Gary. All right, so let's call the Warrick County Economic Development Advisory Council meeting for August 21st to order. First, point of information is that as we sit here right now, that we do not have a quorum to discuss approval of minutes, nor to discuss approval of financial reports, yet we can talk about the financial reports, and we will.
Okay, so I'll move past minutes and move to financial reports. You guys were given new financial reports in the packet. Every year we have Baker Tilly go through our forecasts and our financials. And this year took a little more time because of Senate Bill 1, and it's really layered in property tax and TIF information and the 2% buckets and income tax changes and all of these things. And so what you will see on the screen is the new version. You can see that in bullet point number 1, they call out some of the impact. They call it SEA 1, which we call it just Senate Bill 1, but that's what you'll see highlighted in yellow. The rest of the stuff over here is kind of the stuff we've seen year in and year out. You guys saw it last month. I highlight a few things in green for you to notice, but the biggest thing that I want to show everybody is I've got 2 versions of this in the financials. This is the one that you saw from Baker Tilly, and what you will see on the very top line, we have the county gets about $10 million in edit. Half of that goes to highway, half of that goes to economic development or to edit. And then you see that 10 million in the first 3 columns, and in 2028, you don't see anything. And that is because something Greg and I were just talking about is that the structure and income tax is changing in 2028. Edit goes away, public safety income tax goes away, and it becomes a county certified rate. And the thought process is that those dollars, the county can still use it the same way they always have of, hey, here's some money for economic development, here's some money for highway. But, how's it going, Rick? But in 2028, right now, we get those distributed in a separate income tax bucket from the state. It's gonna get dumped into county general funding, basically. And so because it's not actually edit, Baker Tilly and their official ones, even though they think the county's still gonna fund highway and economic development and stuff, they take it out. So if you go here to this version, which is a different version, the same exact sheet, I've just dropped the 5 million and the $5.1 million I've dropped into 2028, and it's changed our bottom line for the dollars that we're gonna have left in the edit fund. So I just kind of wanted to show you both ways. They may not come in through edit, but as long as county council continues to fund highway and economic development stuff, there still will be an income tax. It's just coming in a different bucket. Does everybody kind of understand that? The only other thing I highlighted is Baker Tilly threw in their stuff that the county was getting some of the supplemental lit distribution. So there's that in red, $523,000. A lot of times county council uses those dollars to go into rainy day, to keep a healthy rainy day fund in case of emergencies. So Baker Tilly just had that when we talked about corrections, Greg. They just had it in the wrong place because it comes in as supplemental lit, so they put it in lit, not knowing that the county most of the time takes that to keep a rainy day balance that is healthy. So those are the real 2 changes on this. On these sheets, does anyone have any questions? Because then I'm gonna go into a couple of the other
So
changes.
just for clarification, the edit rate is 1% currently, and the public safety.
No,
So, sorry,
It's half.
it's half.
Public safety lit is half.
Our county
That's how
rate
you-
is 1.
That's how you get to 1.
Yes.
Okay.
And so, just to follow up on what Paul is saying. This is what it's gonna look like in 2028. In 2027, county council will make the decision what the county's income tax rate is. They're going to have to redo this in a public meeting every single year. Right now, county council doesn't have to do anything unless they're gonna change the rate. Moving forward, every single year, county council basically resets the rate. They can just keep it You know, like we have at 1%, 1%, 1%. So what you see here is that the maximum county rate is going to go to, these are municipalities. The max that a county rate can ever be is when you add these up, you get 1.2, 0.4, and 0.2, so like 1.8. I think there's another new little piece, it may have gone to 1.9, but that's the maximum amount for the county. We're currently at 1%, and we were just talking about the county maybe holding firm at 1%. Then what you guys were talking about in New Bergen and Boonville, the municipalities, depending on your population, if you are over 3,500 people, you can set your own rate up to 1.2%. That rate gets stacked on top of whatever the county's rate is. If you're a municipality under 3,500 people, you need county council approval as the fiscal body. So that is right now, Newburgh, Elberfeld, Lindenville, Tennyson, you all have to go to county council to get that rate approved. Does that make sense? Okay,
Question,
yeah,
how we gonna know that I live in Boonville, and somebody lives across the street behind this?
how are they gonna know? I'm assuming there's some kind of municipal code or something that triggers the fact that you're within a municipal boundary. Greg, I don't know what that is, but
I just thought of it when I looked at that, it's company.
so yeah, someone right across the street from you that's outside the municipality line will be paying a different
My
rate,
daughter lives across the street.
okay? So she's gonna
In the
be
county.
paying only the county rate. And then again, this is gonna go on across the state.
But how many of the counties actually can't go back up to the percentage they were before? I assume there's a lot that are above 2.9 already.
There's a lot of, yes, counties that are. Again, Warrick County is the third lowest rate in the state of Indiana. Out of all the 90+ counties, we're the third lowest. So, in what?
And proud of it.
Yeah, we're low, I mean, we're low, and you know, we've done a lot with being at 1%. I would tell, and Rick, I was telling Greg. I think the county needs to hold firm at 1%. Not raise it, but also don't lower it with the losses we're gonna take in property taxes.
One next few years.
We've gotta hold firm at that 1%. Okay, any questions on that? I've got a couple more.
In this scenario, what happens? Maybe this will show my lack of understanding about what redevelopment should do. But I thought that was, their task was sort of driven by edit dollars.
So ours are driven by TIF.
Oh, TIF, okay.
So that's incremental taxes that come in the boundaries
Yeah,
that we
got it.
draw.
And that's,
in the
and that's
TIF.
how, and that's all, that there's no edit,
That's property.
yeah.
Yes, and so the interesting, just to piggyback on that, there is, and we're gonna talk about it in the redevelopment commission meeting here shortly. TIFs are gonna be impacted because assessed values are going down. And so that is going to create with some TIFs a small issue. And in other TIFs, like the Epworth TIF, you're gonna see significant loss of assessed value, which is less dollars that are being taxed. So the revenues that are coming into the TIFs are gonna drop.
You know, and how, what's the mechanism by which that's assessed values? Is it an arbitrary factor? Is it? I thought it was market value, it was market value based before.
So what I,
Off of percent.
They're locked, okay.
so
From market value or from some other
Assessed.
assessed value?
And so I can forward to this whole group a presentation that Baker, this is the one slide of it, but it can show you. Residentially, 2% bucket and all of those things, how all the different levels of changes, I was trying to see what my next slide is. TIFs are gonna be impacted and it's gonna make a little bit difference, and they put some rules in. That if it hurts you enough to go against debt service that you already have on the books, there is a readjustment that you can make. But if you benefit from some of the changes in a TIF by just naturally the laws changing, and you're benefiting, there's a calculation to bring it back, you're not going to gain. But if you have debt, they're not gonna hurt that debt service. against it. And so, I have a different slide for redevelopment commission right here about it. The next piece I wanna show you, and it's another thing we were talking about, is Baker Tilly's just put together like a 90-page kind of comprehensive plan for the county, and you can see the big word draft up there. Now, it's in draft form, there were some corrections that need to be made and some other things. But what I wanted to show you is due to, again, in yellow, Senate Bill 1, you can see Senate Bill 1 goes into effect in 26, and you know, I wish that number at the top was only $1,521, but that's in thousands, and so you can look that the county in 26, this is in property taxes, is gonna be short $1.5 million. The county in 27, 1.6, 1.8, almost 2 million in 29, and then it does start to level out in 2031. And then it kind of goes level, because in 2031, all of the different property tax impacts are maxed out. If that makes sense. And just for this discussion, I'm gonna go really fast. I got a slide in redevelopment just to show you my point. So this is the 2% property tax bucket. 2% is farmland and like apartments and assisted living, and so non-owner occupied housing. So if you look here, right now, the standard deduction's at 0%. It is going to scale up all the way to 2031. So let's say I owned an apartment complex, starting in 2031 on, I'm basically going to have a 33% reduction in my assessed value and pay taxes on that lesser amount. So I'm gonna be paying on 67% what I was paying 100% of. And that's interesting because if you look at, this is, these are the top 10 taxpayers in the Epworth TIF. And if you look up here, you see apartment, nursing home, senior living. So you see really 5 of the top 10 largest taxpayers here are going to be impacted. You can see the net assessed values that they're tied to. So that's how, like in a TIF, and it's gonna affect the county. If it wasn't in the TIF, the assessed value is coming down. So that's where the shortfalls are coming in the property taxes that are coming in.
Household personal property is gonna be phased out.
Business personal property, you've got 2 things. One, the minimum goes up to $2 million. So if you have up to $2 million in business personal property, you're not gonna pay any taxes on it. And then if you do, you put it into service after 2025, so it's only on new stuff. It's not old stuff that's in place at Alcoa or somewhere else. New stuff that's going in, the floor to depreciate used to be 30%. So companies and industries, I mean, Posey County has a lot of industry, stuff like that, that Toyota have hundreds of millions of dollars in personal property. You know, that used to, year in, year out, you'd have to hold that 30% floor. So it's still held quite a bit of value way down the road. It's gonna be able to come down to about 5%, really bottom out. And so it's just another point. So it's a complicated, layered impact that everybody, towns, the county, economic development, TIFs, redevelopment commission, trying to wrap our heads around the impacts and the tools we have for maybe to balance some of the services that we're expected to provide.
Based on Baker Tilly numbers, it looks like the Epworth TIF will lose about 600,000 a year when it's all phased in.
In 2030, by 2031. But then that TIF starts expiring in like 2033,
Yeah.
So,
Right.
okay, any questions on that uplifting stuff? All right, let's jump to new business. So,
Lynn is online.
who is?
Lynn is online.
Okay.
But that only puts us.
All right, Lynn has joined us online, but we still would be 1 short, so we'll let you know if someone else jumps on. So the next one is, I just want to make this board aware and the redevelopment commission is next month, I think we're gonna have two projects coming in for tax abatement. Both projects are going to be in a TIF area, so they have to go to the redevelopment commission, because it's actually the redevelopment taxes would go into the TIF. But our board here right now, you guys provide a thumbs up and a thumbs down approval to county council on these. Starting with the easier one, there's a new concrete company looking to get closer to where a lot of the development and growth is going here in the community, and they plan to be kind of on the Warrick County side of the county line. And they're looking to build a concrete plant, and this is gonna be, you know, it's a really nice project. But it's compared to what we're gonna talk about next, it's a small project. It's a under $2 million investment. It's gonna probably score out at 4 to 6 years worth of abatement and be a couple $100,000, $200,000 in abatement. But they're getting their application together. I'll send that out to everybody once we score it, but I wanna just make you aware that that's one project. The next project, a lot of you guys have heard us talk about, is Project Vivid, and that's in the North Warrick Industrial Park. And it's a project looking at all of the acreage that is in the green up there in the North Warrick Industrial Park, a little over 100 acres. That is a well-known American brand building a manufacturing factory that has 100-year+ experience, history here in America. And they should be here next month to talk to the board and to, I don't want to steal thunder, go over their project, $700+ million investment made over a couple of years. And that 700 million is probably only going to go on the north half of that property. So they have plans to be here for a really long time and to continue to invest and expand, extremely high paying jobs, and kind of their state of the art global factory for production here in Warrick County. So
What's the pay numbers expected, or do you wanna hold that until next?
they can explain it all, but I mean, those jobs were gonna be starting at like $34 an hour and going up to like 40 something as far as they're starting.
And we're competing on this, or they selected this site?
We do?
Yes.
Okay, great. So
They selected the site, or we're competing for selection of this site?
my opinion is we are in the lead.
Okay.
And they are very serious. They're doing a lot of due diligence on that property and on utilities. And originally it was kind of a 3-horse race for location, and those were 3 separate states. And then it came down to a 2-horse race, and I feel confident saying we're in the lead for this project, which is extremely exciting. Brant,
The other states really stubbed their toe recently too, right?
a little bit, which helps. Brandon's online, so we have a quorum, so if you don't mind, Paul, let's go back.
Yeah, so circling back, need a motion for approval of June 19th, EDAC minutes.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion second, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All right, hold on, because we got people online, we gotta do roll calls.
Just do the roll call, just do those 2 roll.
Just do them, okay,
Just do that.
so you gotta take their vote. Be a roll call, everyone in here can vote.
Okay. Lynn Leopold
Hi, here.
and Brandon Hayes.
Here.
Okay, you guys are,
Well, not here, is he?
You guys are-
Or no on approval of minutes?
we want you to say aye to approve the minutes.
Aye. Aye.
Awesome.
Thanks,
All
guys.
right, so the minutes are approved. We're gonna do this again for, July 17th, 2025, minutes. Need a motion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. And then we'll have to do roll call on the phone. Aye.
Aye.
Lynn
Aye.
and Brandon Hayes.
Aye.
We'll get it.
Okay, so next order of business is approval of the financial reports. Again, this represents 2 separate months. So the July financial reports need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve. I'll second.
All in favor, aye.
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 That motion carries. And last, we need approval for the August
Yeah.
2025 financial reports. Need a motion. Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Lynn? Brandon?
Aye.
And the reports are adopted. Yeah. Okay, back to
Okay, back to what we're at.
Yeah.
So, if you've been in the redevelopment commission, we've been talking about this project for a while. Because they are going for tax abatement, it's gonna come before EDAC as well. We had started this project looking at developer purchase bonds. I had a meeting with county council to walk county council through development purchase bonds and how those work. We presented financial analysis of developer purchase bonds and TIF as a tax abatement as two options for how we can incentivize this project. The bond mechanism was maybe a little more cleaner for them and also allowed us to provide a larger incentive than tax abatement. And that's because you can do real and personal property through a bond for the full term of that bond, 25 years. And in Indiana, tax abatement is limited to 10 years for real property and 20 years for personal property. With that said, we ran all those financials and we started this offer at an 80%, basically the equivalent of like an 80% abatement. Remember that a typical abatement is in Warrick, typical state deduction tables is like a 10-year abatement that works out to be about a 50% abatement. You wind up getting about half of your taxes back. To be competitive, remember when this was a 3-horse race and to land this project, we felt knowing kind of some of the cards that were at play that we needed to be in the 80% range. So we went that way. We did the same thing with developer purchase bonds on like an 80-20 split. Once this project got serious, we came to realize that we don't have the water or sewer capacity for this project. Those water and sewer upgrades, we're still working through what they're going to be, are going to be in the $9 to $14 million range. Because of that, we explained to the project that we would be willing to go either the bond route or the abatement amount and ask for a larger abatement percentage split that we cannot pay for those upgrades, that they would need to pay for it, but we could help, improve the incentive so they can get some of that investment over time. Because they'd be making an investment on infrastructure, certainly that's gonna help their facility, but that's gonna help the entire Elberfeld area for capacity. So with that, I just wanna put it up in front of this group, and I'll have another conversation or meeting with county council, just because we've never done a larger 80 or 100% abatement even, to land a project like this. I will go through all the numbers with county council and explain it, but I wanted to make sure that this board, if you guys have any questions, and just as an example, just to show you how bonds, and I mean, when we get into it, when we knew which way they're going, I can share more of that analysis, but we did the analysis on a bond. This is an 80%, 80-20 split on a bond and 80-20% on the tax abatement. And you can obviously see the bottom line numbers that the bond was gonna provide a bigger incentive, but the project decided that they wanted to do tax abatement. They're used to it, they understand it. They have, corporate boards to answer to, bonds. There's some issues about how you keep that on the books and other things that we don't have to know the reasons, but the overall incentive is gonna be smaller. But that's the direction that they wanna go. We also had, they wanted us to run, you see at the bottom, like some net present value numbers, because these are over long terms. So they wanted to kind of get the net present value of that incentive, which obviously money that we're paying in the future, $20 years from now is not worth $1 today. So we ran some of those numbers for them as well. Once they submit their final application, I'll score that, send that to the board, provide all this documentation. But I just wanted to kind of let everyone know that the ask for a larger incentive, which the redevelopment commission has been on board with when we were going the bond route, is off the table here to land this project.
Quick question, on
Yep.
the $9 to $14 million water sewer. I'm assuming, I wanna assume that that's gonna be enough to handle even more potential growth, or are we gonna
Yes.
be putting ourselves back in the same situation as Newburgh's in, where they've got all this growth possibility, but they're not ready for it?
This will handle growth, and it's a great question, because the next question is, if that parcel goes, we really need to start thinking about what's next. And the other piece of it is, if this project lands, CenterPoint's gonna build a new substation. Sorry, Duke's gonna build a new substation off the CenterPoint transmission line, that's where they're pulling it from. And CenterPoint is making a gas line upgrade. That again, doesn't just benefit one project by creating a higher pressure system through the park. It's going to help the water capacity, the sewer capacity. We're not building out round numbers. They needed 100 gallons. We're not building it out to handle 100 gallons and be at the same place.
I'm just
So-
thinking, if they're having, if this is gonna bring in high paying jobs and things like that, it could also bring in a lot more residential growth in that area as well.
Correct.
So all of those.
We would hope it-
Piggyback off
we would
of
hope
those.
We've got enough to have growth and have growth for the next 400 years.
We will have a lot, I mean, we really will.
For the word person, so like,
Yeah, the bigger issue is,
Cool,
the
but
bigger
then-
issue is you land another big
bring it,
project.
we're good.
And we need to, and I mean, we've been in a, I'll just tell honestly. We have not been able to land a lot of projects because our utility capacities in this corner.
Right,
Have basically not been able to handle much more than super light manufacturing or warehouse and distribution space. And
Is this
so,
project being rail too, or?
no, does not, which is nice. So it's all positive. I really feel it's gonna be a project that's gonna be here for decades to come if they land. Continue to grow in our community, and we have a real opportunity with the availability of the utility partners. Plus the project being willing to make these large investments on the front end in water and sewer to make this happen.
If you're looking at this, so they fill up the park up there, the only thing we've got left is 16.9 and 4.8, so we've got 21.7 acres left in the park, so we gotta start thinking about.
And of that, about 12% of that's built this week. A creek that runs through there, conservation area and stuff like that.
So we gotta start talking about what's next after that.
In redevelopment, we're gonna talk about what's next because, spoiler alert. We have a project also that's looking at these 40 acres right here. That was for sale and then came off the market. It's not part of the park. But they wanna write a letter of intent on purchasing that property, so I've been talking to property owner out there, which. Again, would be a nice problem to have. And hopefully the utilities are gonna come alongside it so that we can make it up.
But it's hundreds of thousands of square foot, or
500,000 to 600,000 square feet. Okay, any questions? Okay, deep breath. Old business. Okay, so. What wound up happening this week is I met with Bobby Howard to go over a whole bunch of things. And he let me know that NDOT put out these RFPs. For design on 3 intersections, which we talked about briefly in here. J-turns and R-cuts, which is kind of like a J-turn, U-turn. Out front of Alcoa Kaiser, at Walmart, at Bell and 66, and then up there at Epworth and 62. And so these are detailed, I just got them from Bobby this week. We're gonna talk about them and we have project team meeting in our office on Tuesday. We're gonna break these down and discuss pros and cons, and I've already had one preliminary meeting with Kaiser Aluminum. Who, like, for their design, everybody coming out of the plant at shift change is gonna have to turn right. All the trucks and all the shift change and all of the folks. So, obviously, there's a lot of stakeholders at Bell and 66. Bell and 66, the design is no left turns from any direction. At Bell and 66. So we're gonna,
It's a J turn to get back to the intersection.
you have to take a right, go through a
Have they
U-turn.
learned nothing? I mean, really, I mean, why, I mean, this is just, it's gonna be groundhog.
So I'm going,
I'm glad you said.
this is out front of Alcoa, so you see that you can't go straight out of the south. You have to go take a right turn and take a U-turn in order to go left. This is at Bell and 66. It is no left turns in any direction, and then you get the same no left turns. At 62 and Epworth. So we're gonna dig into it, and I'm not saying that all of them are good, bad, or other until we dig into the data. But we
That was
may,
very diplomatic. Thank you for pulling me back to the set.
It was very diplomatic, wasn't it?
it's the truth. I have an initial reaction, but
Well, you saw one.
we're gonna go through it and have that conversation. I was hoping we weren't gonna have NDOT on the calendar for the project year on these is 2030. So,
Let's just talk about Walmart for a second. Can we talk about Walmart for a second?
sure,
So is that the second busiest intersection in Warrick County?
that and 261 are close.
So the
I don't
second busy,
see a world where that at Walmart works.
the second busiest intersection in Warrick County requires you to U-turn to get back to go to Walmart or anything else you want to.
I guess
So-
the question is Walmart or where?
No. Well, the issue is we've gotta get
They will be.
stakeholders involved the same way we did with Epworth
So
stakeholders.
you've got big stakeholders with big pockets.
Yep,
To help us in a way where we didn't have as much of that help at.
I think we just, again, need to validate the traffic counts, the accidents.
Yeah.
The holding capacity, the future traffic numbers. And if it's the best solution. They're making these changes because what winds up happening is they'll do a crash report. So this is a crash report at Bell, and they put, this is 18 rear end accidents right here in this lane, 6 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. I don't know where this person is going, squiggling down here, but this person is going here. Someone's going into the ditch here, and then, 17, 7, so. They basically do they do safety counts, and then an intersection is not performing as they would expect. And then how do they limit crashes? And then in my opinion, they look for the lowest cost alternative, even if it may hurt development and access and everything else. So we're gonna get into it over the next month, plan that we'll talk about it again at our next meeting, and maybe have an idea of let's do glass half full. 2 of these aren't that bad, or hey, if Kaiser's okay with it, we don't need to get involved. And one of them is an issue. And so we'll look through them all, we'll make some recommendations, and we'll decide where to go.
Even at Kaiser and Alcoa, they can't go straight out, right? They have to go through a
Yes.
circle.
They have to, that's them there. So if you were on 66, you're gonna be able to take a left turn from, it's called an R cut, it's not a J turn. If you're on 66 coming from the east, you're gonna be able to make this left turn. And if you were going this way and wanted to go on Boonville Highway, Alcoa Highway, I mean, you can make that turn. But coming straight, either way, you're not able to take a left. All traffic's forced to go around. And then
No, I didn't think they'd go straight either.
you can't go straight. You have all traffic coming from these sides.
And think about semis turning there. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
And so,
Well, that wasn't so diplomatic.
like,
So every semi going either direction has to go through this, goes through the loopy-loop.
Yeah,
Every semi coming in and out of that facility goes through the
Yeah.
loopy-loop.
so
That's my word.
Who
Sorry.
thought of this though?
Well, NDOT.
I know,
NDOT.
NDOT, but like, who was sitting there like, oh, this is a great idea, let's make all these.
I think
people
he
And
said,
semis do U-turns.
I think Steve said, that this is a design that they think makes it safer.
Right,
And
but,
it's done at the lowest cost,
it creates
not
less
at the maximum
contact
amount of
points.
convenience, right?
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
It creates less contact points. I've been on record multiple times. J-turns work in rural highways and intersections and lower traffic.
Right.
And I just concerned about the higher traffic locations, and it's just validating again, is it, I'm not saying it's not, safety improvements don't need to be made, but we want selfishly, and we should, we want the best solution.
Yeah, and despite, I mean, for me personally, tremendous skepticism about the Epworth intersection, it's turned out well. And so I don't know why we can't just keep having the conversation that now we can see works.
So I think the answer here, if you look through this, the one at Bell, they didn't put a lot of time in it, but basically they say that displaced left doesn't work because of the geography of the intersection and the space available, because you've got to get all those turn lanes onto the other side of the road.
Yeah,
And so
you'd have to build over those ditches, I guess, right?
that, and I just, again, I don't know how much space there is
Yeah.
at some of these locations, so you've got to take land and you've got to disrupt traffic. Some of this is gonna disrupt access anyways,
If that goes through and happens, people will start getting off at, what is the McAllister Road frame?
Yeah,
frame?
that's liver.
Liver, yeah.
Right, liver.
Yeah, they'll start getting off there and then speeding down the
Sure.
frontage road, which they are
Libert's nice and wide,
now, what?
Libert's nice and wide.
But I mean, the road that goes, the back road to Walmart.
Yeah,
I
High Point Drive.
Yeah, I went everywhere.
Yeah,
It's like people fly through there and there's opportunity for more pedestrians and things like that. It's like, if we get into this. I
that's our
can't
trail.
imagine what that's gonna be.
Mhm.
Here's
Yeah,
the
it'll
other
drive
thing, is
people.
you're driving down Lloyd Expressway now before it becomes 66 in Warrick County. How many of them are now displaced left turns? Well, that's what they're working on all those.
Right.
There's only one that's not like that.
Yeah.
Cross
You're gonna have
Burke Car
displaced, displaced J-turn.
Well, to Jenna's point, what she's saying is it's gonna drive traffic in this area, specifically off of the main
Somewhere else.
arteries, yeah, onto the smaller roads, which are less capable and less safe. Sometimes when you're coming down that access road, I can't think of what it's called, and the people coming in and out of Walmart, that's a
Yeah.
real,
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to see the traffic accident information data from there.
Yeah, I mean, it's already chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I'm gonna try
Yeah.
not to jump to conclusions,
Yeah.
but I think we need to take a deep dive at all
Yeah.
of these.
Yeah.
And make sure that the stakeholders, they drive these all the time, their employees do, their visitors do.
Yeah,
They need to point out, hey, I have a concern here or a concern there.
yeah,
So I think at least we're on a little bit of the front end. When we started Epworth, they were 60% of the way through the design. And that was a hard ship to turn.
Mhm.
This time they're just putting out RFPs for someone to get involved in the design. So at least we're ahead of that.
Okay.
Anyone else wanna talk U-turns? Okay, little follow-up on last month. We talked about some park projects that I wanted to have some discussions. We talked about the Boonville Pool and that project and some of the park improvements that they were making. And we wanted to talk about some more of their financials. And I've gotten some information on that and where their gap is and what's going on. And so they've kind of called this the year of the parks. They've made improvements at City Park. They're at the splash pad, which are really nice. I think they're having a ribbon cutting in a week or two. They are moving forward on phase 1 of the pool project, and they are looking for funding for their phase 2 of the pool project. I think my discussion with this board is they are looking to close a gap through potentially some ready funding, which needs some additional match funding. I personally, and only my opinion, I do think this is going to be a countywide asset. A pool is the number one thing asked for in the parks master plan. I think people from around the county are going to use it. And I like projects where the county is just helping close a gap and get a project done. And then we don't own it, operate it, staff it, insure it, or do any of those things. And that was kind of like the Ohio Township Park. When we did that, it was kind of like we helped out with the trail in Linville, and the town of Linville took over that. And so if we can make things happen that a lot of residents are going to get involved with, I like those projects, because then we can be a big part of closing that gap. And then we don't have that kind of ongoing sustainability that falls on someone else. So they gave us some renderings we looked at last. They're also this is City Park. and they have some ideas for Brackenridge. And we looked at their pool budget with their breakdown, and then there were some questions that came up from this board as far as where their funding is coming from. And so you will see right here that City Lake and the aquatic facility combined come in at about $25.3 million. You will see in here below where the funds are coming from. They have some 22, 23, and 24 bonds that they were using to fund these park improvements. And you will see that they've made an ask from Ready that's in red. And you will see what their current shortfall is in the very bottom box, which is red. They also they wanted to say that they can't put it in the bucket yet, but there's possibly some stormwater funds that may contribute to some of the work that, they may be able to offset some of that. They haven't dialed that in or made sure those funds are available. So I know that local funds like funds from Warrick County will help with their ready ask. Do not know if they're going to get those matching dollars, all of it, a portion of it, none of it. You can see that the gap at the bottom to make the entire piece of this go, and the second piece of the pool project, guys, is the part that is next to the pickleball courts, which is splash pad and party rooms and rental space and stuff
Can you go back on that last picture?
like this. Yep. What do you see?
Orient me on the direction here, like where is Tasty Freeze?
Tasty Freeze. Jenna wants to know the important information.
That's the important.
And then going back by that.
Studio B is right.
Studio B is the white building
Right back there, okay.
just outside the pool.
So the current pool kind of would sit
Okay,
forward in that picture next to the pickleball court.
okay.
Situation.
It
So,
looks really big on that, like that
It
space
is,
there.
it is really big.
Yeah, it's that big. Yeah, okay.
and so it would be a big,
Comment on the swimming pool, this area's not had an outdoor 50-meter swimming pool ever that I know of. So two of my three kids were swimmers, and so we had a summer season where you would swim at the outdoor 50-meter pools. Closest one is in Vincennes, the other closest one is in Jasper. Nobody's ever had one around here. So Newburgh Sea Creatures and their 100 some odd kids were going to Vincennes or going to Jasper for a weekend to swim at their outdoor pool, and you didn't have any of this kind of facility around here. So it'll be a nice facility for that as well. That brings in a lot of people. You'll have people stay the weekend, they spend money at the restaurants, all that good stuff. I mean, they usually have 400 or 500 people there for an event like that, so.
and so we talked last month.
Yeah, what was the ask? And we were,
For our group, I was just kind of comparing it to the Ohio Township Park.
Right.
And that number was $500,000 that we contributed through Edit. Now, that does not, if you notice, that does not close their gap, so I think we would make it dependent on them securing the rest of the funding. And as Paul mentioned, same thing we did with Ohio Township, is that our dollars are the last dollars. Our dollars don't go to design and the pictures and all of that, is we really want it to be closing funds. To make sure it happens and then executing on all of those other things. Which Herb just writes up a nasty contract that has a bunch of clawbacks and outlines all of that stuff.
That would be my recommendation.
And the 500,000 is contingent on the ready?
It's contingent on them filling the gap to finish this funding. Right now, they're showing that Ready's a piece of it, but let's say they would only get half of that, they would have a larger gap to fill.
So have they applied to ready?
Yes,
Do they have a contingency plan if they don't get ready? They will eliminate something.
I don't think that they want to eliminate. I think that what it may do is postpone phase 2. So that outside space may have to be some dead space until they close that gap, but I don't wanna speak for them.
Right.
Because I'm on the outside of this project, just kind of crunching the numbers, looking at their quotes, stuff like that. And I do believe, like those other projects we talked about, they are good projects for the community.
Right.
So. At this point, I just want some feedback. That decision obviously needs to go in front of county council. I think that as we're gonna talk about multiple projects, and we already talked about the county is trying to figure out the challenges ahead with budget cuts and other stuff. So it may not be an immediate yes. It may be just a discussion, because we have a couple of other things coming up as well. We have the money going back to our financials. We have plenty of coverage in edit because we don't spend all the dollars coming in. We save those dollars and forecast them and show, if we want to hold on to money, so when an opportunity comes, we can do it. But I think that's my recommendation is I don't think we can close their gap for them. I think that $500,000 based on those contingencies, contingent upon filling the rest of this gap, being the last dollars in, I think is a smart way to recommend funding this.
Do they have a good upkeep and maintenance plan for this?
So I haven't seen it, Courtney, but I know that it's a piece of their budget moving. So I have not dug into it, but I know that sustainability and that plan and staffing and dollars and revenue, like
Would do a lot.
they have that model and that stuff.
Okay.
So that's the best I
So are you
know.
looking, what are you looking for tonight?
I'm just looking to see, I don't want to go to county council if the board thinks it's a terrible idea.
So it's a recommendation from
I-
EDAC.
I like it.
Recommendation on spending edit dollars, $500,000 edit dollars in support of Boonville.
Mm-hmm.
When do you
Full
think-
and City Lake project.
Let me walk that back for a second. So what are we voting?
We're just recommending.
It's just a recommendation.
Recommendation.
But I-
Yes, you're voting on whether
And
you
if we
recommend or don't
What's
recommend.
your next step?
I'm gonna get some more information still from Boonville, but then at a certain point forward, when I'm comfortable, would be going in front of county council to make an additional appropriation based on the parameters that we spoke about.
So all EDAC
And
is
is that
doing is,
comfort level dependent on some of the other things up above, or like you just wanna go ahead and find out?
we would still paper it, Jenna, so that they're not able to close those until they're ready to let phase two and have the funding to do so. So yeah, it is contingent upon them closing that gap.
but all the EDAC board is, it's a recommending body. County
Yeah.
council will decide if it wants to appropriate funds or not. So you're just making a recommendation to county council.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
Yeah, I motion for what.
Whatever I said.
I'll second.
What was, sorry, what was the amount?
500,000.
Okay, the same.
Yeah, the same as Ohio Township.
What was the ready ask one?
Two. I don't have that off top, but it's right in that.
Do you know what they got?
Yeah, they got that recommendation.
Oh, they got whatever the number was.
Yeah, I just couldn't.
Yeah.
Okay,
Any discussion, questions? Everyone in favor? Aye.
aye.
Anybody opposed?
All right, online,
Got two.
call them out. All right.
Lynn?
Aye.
Brandon?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Okay. The next one, just really quick, is we talked about this pocket park up in Elberfeld. It's the same exact, different project, but the same exact reasoning of helping something get done. We've seen the success of Johnson Park in the square in Boonville. And not every project looks the same. Not every project's a $17 million pool. This is a much smaller project, but important right at the heart of Elberfeld, something that they want to start kind of kick forward on their main street there. We are waiting on, we put in a request from the Centerpoint Foundation. And we put in we've got two different other, not corporate, but like private foundations that we plan to ask to help fund this. So for this one, I really just want to keep on your radar because I really don't know. I'd like our dollars again to close the gap. And depending on getting some funding, I don't know what that number is, but I'm gonna keep this slide on there to make sure we don't forget about it. Does that make sense? Yep. Okay, now, I'm gonna just tell you a couple of other projects that are going on. We're not voting on anything, but I just wanna tell you some other needs that the community has, just so it's on your radar. So tomorrow, I'm going to have a conversation with folks from the 4-H center. And the 4-H center, certainly anyone that's been involved in 4-H or has been to the county fair or seen that facility being used, is used by a large portion of the county. Those buildings are extremely old, and they are coming tomorrow to do a presentation. They have some dollars and numbers put together for making some improvements like on the animal barn and some other things that have outgrown their purpose. I'm a fan of 4-H. I think it's a good thing for our community and our kids, but I just want to let you know that's another project. Up at Scales Lake, they're reworking through a gatehouse project. That building was built 40 years ago and has outlived its purpose. And they have some funds at the parks to do that through a bond, some bond dollars they have, but probably not enough to get over the hump. The county is talking about in the bottom left is the highway garage. That something needs to happen at the highway garage, and if you've been out to that building, you would agree that they need some nicer facilities. It may be beyond saving. And then another one, Dr. Redmond or Abby and I were at this meeting. We were just talking about the pool at Castle. The pool at Castle is somebody that used to swim there in the mornings, an adult swim fit, and my kids learned to swim there. You know, none of that has to do with the high school swim team. But, you know, talking about indoor and outdoor pool facilities in our community, we don't have a YMCA. And that pool not only helps the school, but serves a lot of other points. And that pool has had some issues for multiple years on the HVAC system and on the air handlers. And it's going to be at a point where we've got to make a decision on correcting that and saving that facility in our community. And it's like the rest of these projects. The school has a part to play in it. The new combined, if you don't know, the Sea Creatures and the Boonville Club combined into a Warrick County Club, which is a positive. And has helped them. They've been doing a lot more swimming over at the Boonville pool because of the issues here. So it's something that I think we're looking at getting information at this point on the actual problem and what the cost is and what the solutions are. And at that point, we're gonna try to find a way to solve that problem. So I just wanted to put those projects, nothing to do, find out more about 4-H tomorrow, but you know, we have some older facilities in Warrick County. I like all the new stuff and get real excited about the shiny things, but we also have to take care of the things that are old.
On the HVAC, the pool has never worked. I was there with some of my swimmers when it first opened up. They just never got it right. So somebody needs to get that right at some point in time.
That's the plan, Herb.
The other problem is condensation inside because the humidity levels are so high. And if you guys know what happens when your humidity level gets too high, that could be a potential problem. That's something that needs to be taken care of.
Yep. All right, upcoming date. Just a couple. Party in Paradise, September 27th. Tickets are on sale. So don't miss it. What year are we in, Courtney? 7? 8? Yes. Okay. That raises money for our parks, and it's a wonderful event out here in Freedman. If you haven't been, e-package supply, look for that. Ribbon cutting date has been pushed to September. And so I'll get that out to the board as soon as that happens. And if there's any other board business,
Need a motion.
Second.
we're adjourned.
Yeah.
All right,
I gotta run.
we're adjourned. We're gonna Courtney, we may be running the show.
All right. Call the meeting to order. We'll look at minutes from last month. Does anyone have any questions or do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Steve, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Do we have any?
Aye.
Brandon,
Brandon,
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Okay, minutes pass. Financials, Steve?
okay, financials, same as the last meeting, guys. The financials are what you got in your packet. Statement of balances, and then the new updated numbers from Baker Tilly. There's no new projects or anything else put in here, but I do have some additional background data based on Senate Bill 1 that I want to go over once you guys ask any questions just on the financials as they were presented.
Does anyone have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Steve, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Brandon,
Aye.
opposed, same sign. All right.
Okay, so just like in edit, what you'll start seeing, and Herb mentioned it, and we talked about those large taxpayers and the 2% buckets and assessed values changing. Is you will start seeing, if you start looking at 26 and 27 and 28 and 29, you will start seeing the incremental tax that we get from current development starting to drop. And what Baker Tilly, in the draft report that I sent out to the board in the email that had a couple of attachments, you can get into the weeds on all the future and how we do forecasting, who's coming, and you know, is there a new fast food place coming and what year are they gonna be assessed? And we get into current development and future development, and you can go through that report and kind of really get in the weeds. But I'm gonna highlight something to look at, and you can look at this at each TIF district. I didn't put it up here for each TIF district. But you look at that highlighted line and it will say less the Senate Bill 1 deductions. And you can see if we just follow that line, in 2026, it's at 9.7 million, it goes to 20 million. Now, remember, that's not dollars we're losing, that's assessed value we're losing. That then is dollars that don't get taxed. It goes up to 31 million in 28, and if we move that forward, you can see that number starting to jump. And then it flatlines at 2031, which is when all of those property tax benefits max out. And then you can see it starts dropping in 35 and 36, and it starts dropping because the Epworth TIF starts expiring. And so, you know, that's expected because the TIF's gonna drop. So when you start going through these numbers, you can start seeing where, if we go back to this top one, you can start seeing why the numbers at the top of our forecast start dropping with the dollars that we are getting in. And this takes current and future developments, which it says at the top up there. The ones that I pulled were just on current developments. We have a loss on future developments too, because they're getting the tax breaks as well. Any questions just on that, on how a drop in assessed value is less dollars that are getting taxed, which then are less dollars that are going into the TIF? It's not, you know, I say not significant, but you obviously can look at the ending cash balance here. We have plenty of dollars to cover our debt service. We have plenty of dollars to do other stuff with. Dollars continue to grow, but it is an issue. And then the interesting part about it is this was the largest taxpayers. Again, we already talked about this was the 2% bucket. And we have it for the, you know, this is what was given for Northwest and for State Road 61. The interesting question that I want to bring up for this group or to point out is that we also have brand new TIFs that don't have any development. And so we created the one for the sports property, for the Dominion, for the larger housing TIF, and all of those got a base assessed value. They got a base assessed value, so let's say they're farm fields. Their base assessed value now is going to be higher than it is as soon as SB1 kicks in next year and in 27 and in 28. And so what can really happen is, even though we've had no growth, they set the, let's just use round numbers again. They say that all 300 acres of the housing farmland was worth $100 in assessed value. Well, let's say nothing gets started there, let's go extreme by 2031. Now that value is only $67 because they've gotten a 33% deduction. So now we need to get $33 in development to even get back to zero before we would even get any TIF dollars. Now I'm using $100 and $67, but imagine using 100 million and 67 million. You now need a project that assesses at $33 million, which may be a $45 to $50 million project, in order to get back to zero. So it's created this weird situation that some of our new TIFs could actually start in the red. We won't owe any money, but we won't start getting money because the floor was already set and then the floor has come down. So we've been through this Baker Tilly. If it's a big gap or a big problem, the suggestion is what you would do is before development starts, if development's not gonna start for 3 or 4 years, you would then just recreate the TIF. You would go through the process again because it'll set a new floor. Just putting that out there, we don't have to do anything or take action. Does that kind of make sense in broad strokes? So there's a lot going on with how we're trying to respond to SB1 and the impacts that we have. Okay, moving on. Do we already do financials? Yeah. Moving on to claims. So you will see these claims on here. The first 3 you had in the packet. Holly sent out one today because we just got it. It's another claim on all the dirt that's moving on the sports project. And if you've been over there, they've been doing site work every single day. We've been lucky with the weather. Temperatures are now coming down. I just want to make a point that that claim that you guys have, we wait until our engineer, which is Morley on this project, goes through and certifies it before we pay. But since we only meet once a month, I'd like you guys to approve that claim contingent on the engineer approving that value. Does that make sense? So that we can get this paid on time and not have to skip another month and then wait for it to go through the county. So just note that that last one, the big one, we're gonna approve contingent upon Morley signing off on it because we just got it.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Steve, I'll second. All those in favor? Aye. Brandon?
Brandon,
Aye.
thanks, Brandon.
Thank you. Opposed, same sign, okay.
Okay, we have a couple of action items. One is to ratify the signature on a right of entry form, and I'll explain that in a second. And the other is to extend Powers Engineering their not to exceed dollar on all of the work that we are doing on Newburgh Sewer. And so the first one goes with Project Vivid. Remember the green square up there again? Project Vivid is doing a whole bunch of due diligence. They've taken soil samples and borings, and they are now using Meristem to do a wetland delineation. There are a couple little spots, you know, if you go to the end of the cul-de-sac there on Industrial Park Drive, there's trees and like some growth down there, and there's a stream through there. And they would like the help of the Army Corps of Engineers to delineate these wetlands, to help with that. As part of that, the Army needs permission to come onto our property, right of entry. It's a very simple form, just saying those are the parcels, the Redevelopment Commission is the owner. I went ahead and signed it, hoping that you guys will ratify my signature so that we can keep that moving forward. We're trying to be as responsive as we can be to this large project.
I have a motion to ratify Steve's signature on the right of entry.
Motion to approve.
Second. Thank you, Steve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Brandon?
Yes, aye.
Thank you. All right. Then this passes.
Okay, the next one is we engaged Powers Engineering to help us out with the Newburgh Sewer evaluation and situation. You guys passed a not to exceed fee of $20,000. You can see on the left. That was part of the scope of work on that project. We are at that limit of $20,000. This has been going on, what did you say, October? Was that? So 9 months, 10 months. We are not at the finish line. And we need Powers Engineering for the expertise that we do not have, that Morley doesn't have, to provide us somebody that knows sewer systems and design and flow rates and all of that stuff. So I would like to ask the board for us to be able to approve another. Bucket of that to go not to exceed 40,000, so total. With the first 20, I'd like to double it. I don't know if we're gonna be done in a week and come to some kind of miracle collaboration, or we're gonna be doing this for a year. But as we get more analysis, and we're gonna talk, I got a sewer slide, 2 slides coming, but you'll see that we're using Craig to go with Morley and meet with Newburgh and get into the weeds on some of the stuff. And we need his expertise to break down the summaries and the requests and what we really need to be looking for here, so that we can make a good decision on what to do moving forward. And so I'd like to kind of re-up this with another 20,000, which would make the not to exceed on this total scope, $40,000.
And Steve is a really quick study, so if this continues for another year, he'll probably be a sewer engineer by then.
Yeah,
And we can get rid of it and just have Steve be the sewer engineer. But assuming we don't get that far, we probably need this guy's help. And oh, by the way, he's really good and knows stuff that we don't have. So
yeah.
So do we have a motion to extend and increase the amount for Bowers Engineering?
Not to exceed.
not to exceed 40,000.
Motion to approve.
Have a second?
No, second.
Steve, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There you go. Thanks.
Okay,
Opposed, like sign? Okay, that passed.
you see local? Yeah, yep.
That's a lot of work for the water and sewer utility.
And so what you'll see here in the technical report that he provided is, in the meantime, Craig and Jim Morley have met twice. We've gotten others out of the room so that the engineers, Newburgh and Commonwealth and our side of the table, can try to get in the weeds on the whole sewer situation. The issue is really, our goal is, remember, they want us to make this to pay for this improvement. Until we feel comfortable that it's the right solution, they've got to convince us. And so that's what we're trying to work towards. They've met twice since our last meeting. I have a meeting on Monday with Russell Powell from Newburgh Sewer. We still don't agree on kind of flow rates and peaking factors and some other things. We feel like Newburgh is saying they're getting close to capacity, and we've got a lot of big projects coming in this area. They've come out, one thing that they've come out with, if we remember, is that originally their recommendation was, as part of a phased project, running a new force main from the master lift over there off of Libert and the Wellness Trail kind of, and running it in phase 1, about 12,000 feet, which is the green line and the blue line, to around Castle High School in 261. And that's phase 1, and then additionally, you're gonna need to get all the way down to the water treatment plant with this force main, which is about 38,000 linear feet of 36-inch pipe. And the first phase, the green and blue together, came in over here at $30.5 million. The original results of the recalibration study showed that phase 1, the 12,000 feet, was not going to provide any substantial, I think was the word, any substantial capacity increase. Which is why they originally recommended doing the 12,000 feet plus doing a wet weather basin as the shorter term collects. The problem is when it rains. That's the capacity issue. So the basin collects it while they do phase 1, which doesn't give us a lot of capacity increase until we do phase 2 and phase 3. Well, phase 1 was 30, the basin was 17. And we didn't know what the total cost of doing 2 more phases in, but if you look at phase 1 at 12,000 feet, we gotta go to 38,000 feet. Some of it's through farm and probably easier to get through and maybe a little cheaper land, but you're looking at $100 million. So that was a problem. They now, out of that study that they provided, they now have kind of come up with a different, that was incorrect to say the 12,000 linear feet doesn't provide any capacity. And now they're double checking, but they mentioned to Craig and to Jim that they believe that combined, that provides capacity for about 5,800 residential taps. So 5,800 taps is fitting basically all of Boonville, Newburgh, and Chandler into that area as additional capacity.
15,000 feet.
And so, which is a big difference from no substantial capacity to our three biggest towns worth of capacity. And they said it was a miss. I don't know what the phrase was. It was incorrect. But so basically, just getting the 12,000 square feet might last us 20-30 years, depending on where to, and remember, that's residential taps. A hospital or a commercial, they take a lot more volume than one single family home. So
But we're gonna have Craig give us Craig's opinion. Just so you know.
there is more capacity in there because when you look at, right now it's a 24-inch pipe. If we do math on the board, a 36-inch pipe is not just 12 inches bigger pipe, it's like more than 2 times the capacity
Right.
of the smaller pipe. So there is capacity, but that 36 has to tie in to a 24-inch pipe where the red starts. So at some point, there's a restriction in the system. I'm not a sewer engineer yet, so I can't.
Have you ever poured water in one of those things like that? You know what that does?
Right. And so
Get the visuals.
we are trying to validate. One, that there's that capacity. Two, that they don't need they don't see for the long term a lot of additional build out of this. We still disagree on some of the numbers that they are using. So we are trying to at least validate that their solution is a feasible solution, whether the finances are there or not. We first just want to validate the solution. So that's where we're at right now. We're requesting some stuff from them on remodeling and allowing Craig, who's our expert, to dig into the numbers to validate it. Because we need to feel good, and me personally, unless Craig feels good about it, I'm not going to feel very good about recommending it. So that's what we're trying to get to. Then there's the whole financial piece.
We're not gonna recommend it to you guys until we're comfortable that Craig has came up with a solution that works and we understand why he's saying what he said. Before that, we're not. We can't get there.
And we need to evaluate all of our options is another thing, just letting everybody know. So any questions on that? We've had a couple meetings, so there is some progress. We still disagree on some stuff. We've gotten some answers on some other stuff. We've got additional meetings on the schedule. We're making a few requests of some other information that we need. We're trying to get to a point where we understand it. But I think it's good that we are poking because now even the capacity has changed from the initial report. So,
Let me add one thing to what you said, so.
okay,
Because I'm just trying to back it down to what I understand, which I think you guys might understand as well. So Newburgh has told us that they have 2 million gallon a day is their normal daily flow in this area. 2 million gallon a day, normal daily flow when it's not raining. 7.6 million gallon capacity, right? Am I using the right
about,
number?
yeah, you're there.
So they're saying they have limitations in the system when they've got $5.6 million gallons more a day they can put through the system. So from our perspective, and again, this is getting it down to 8th grade level that I can understand. 5.6 million gallons means you've got a rain problem. So a lot of water is getting into the system somehow, because we also know that they almost went out of the manholes back in May of 2024 when it rained like crazy and there was water everywhere, so on and so forth. So to us, that's a rain problem, right? At least to me, that's a rain problem. So they're trying to figure out if they've got, they call it I&I.
And all systems have I&I.
You have, everybody has.
There's a threshold for what it should be. a lot of the stuff in the Epworth area is newer construction. But, so there's thresholds, it's definitely a wet weather problem. What's the solution for that?
So there's a couple different options on solutions. One is this force main, much bigger. It can push more gallons of sewage at the same time as compared to the old one, so on and so forth. The other option is you build a really big round tank and you use it like a toilet bowl, so it fills up when it rains really hard.
That's a technical term.
That's my technical term. It fills up when it rains really hard, so it's taking the sewage out of the system, not pushing it through the line and waiting for the rain to stop. Once the rain stops, you let that flow back down the line, go on that way. That's a cheaper option. But
What if the rain doesn't stop?
That's at some point,
if it's 1,000-year flood or 10,000-year flood, you can't build a system to handle it.
the force main won't handle it either.
Nothing will handle, we'll all be underwater, so it doesn't matter at that point, they don't have to build a system to handle 1,000-year flood. So we're trying to figure out which is the better option, you put it in a tank and hold it for a while, or you push it through a new 36-inch line, so those are the two options we're primarily looking at right now, and Craig's gonna have a lot to say to us about which makes more sense.
Okay,
That's all I have.
any other questions? Okay, we're gonna keep making progress. We talked about that bill from Agner Construction. Here are some photos out at the site if you haven't been out there. It's a really big retention basin that's being built. They're making a bunch of progress out there and all good. So that is, and you guys saw that bill, that is moving forward. I thought I was gonna have a floodway slide, but I'm waiting for Michael Sears to get back at Morley, who's the floodway guru. Remember, we're doing that study all the way from at the John Deere facility up at Morgan and Epworth, all the way under 66 through Deaconess, where that floodway goes underneath I-69. We do have a couple of projects along that floodway, economic development projects, one large one. So that's all on the east side of Epworth that are waiting on that floodway study to know what they're going to do on where they can build and where they can't build. So we are trying to get that study done. That study is gonna come out with whatever the numbers are. We may not like the numbers because of the flooding and because of the situation, but at least it's gonna set some boundaries so that people aren't building and filling in the floodway and creating other problems on other people's property and land. And it just kind of keeps making the matters worse if we don't delineate that floodway.
Unlike a floodplain, which you can build in if you bring the dirt up, which is what Agner's doing for us right now, you can't build in the floodway. So once it gets defined, whoever's got a new development, we've got one that's looking on the west side of Epworth, will have to stay out of the floodway.
Yep. Okay, lots of stuff in North Warwick. We talked about a whole bunch of them. Project Vivid, we're still talking to every day. We talked about tax abatement over bonds. They want to move that, which used to be the yellow line going up and then it takes a sharp right turn, which it used to be xylene. It's now a diesel line for BP. I actually did hear from BP today, like an hour before this meeting, that they basically said they're open to the line being moved. It's probably a multi-million-dollar cost. And right now their relocation of facilities is at a 2-year window. So it's a positive that the answer was yes.
But that's south.
It-
South.
it Their design keeps getting closer and closer to that line, so they want that line moved.
Okay.
We talked about the Army Corps and the wetland delineation. We talked about we're still working through water and sewer upgrades. And then we talked about authorizing abatement based on utility upgrades may jump from 80 or higher to help offset the cost. Because at some point, if we told them you gotta build, we got a $20 million incentive, but you gotta build $20 million worth of sewer, they're not really getting any incentive. They're looking for land that doesn't have these challenges. So we're trying to bridge the gap there. But it's still moving forward.
Did BP say if BK would move it or if they would hire a contractor?
I
Our contractor.
don't have that answer. I'm working with Cody over at Morley,
Okay.
and we're gonna talk tomorrow about it. Okay, so we are still making progress. I do expect the big reveal on Project Vivid to probably be next month when they come ask for a payment, so. Another reason to be here. The Shell building, we've had a bunch of interest on the Shell. The two most active ones is we have Project Kelly, which is a cardboard box manufacturer that has been down twice, has a complete build out proposal from Woodward. They are taking it right to their board, and it'd be a nice sized project with a lot of equipment going in that building. Project Redbird is actually a Japanese company that does automotive interiors that really likes to be in the area. I'm assuming they have somebody they supply to in the area in the automotive industry, but they are looking, and it would be a fairly large project. They are looking at the Shell building along with about 3 or 4 other sites. And then we have a client looking for 75 to 100,000 square feet, came through Woodward, and they would use it as a warehouse and distribution, but they would need the building brought up to food grade because of what they're doing. And so they are getting a proposal as well. Those are kind of the 3 real active projects out there. Any questions on that? Okay, the next slide comes down to, Herb kind of mentioned it, is, well, let's talk here first, and then I'll go back. So we talk about what's next. The potential Project Vivid, talk about the A and B sites over there. I did have a conversation with Rich Henderson, who used to be one of 2 owners of of Phoenix Specialty Films. Now they went to an ESOP model. They're all employee owned. I had a conversation with Rich that he's not ready yet to pull the trigger. He's very interested in lot A and lot B to build spec light workshop warehousing space. They were looking at leasing some of their space originally with Phoenix when they built out their second building, but then they filled it immediately with their own stuff. And so he believes there's a market, and he believes he can bring people out there. He'd be looking to come to Redevelopment Commission on some deal on the land if he commits to build X, Y, or Z. So that may take the green space, the red space, and the brown space, and we will be out of space in the industrial park. The space behind Pepsi, remember, is an upside down flag shape. That is owned by Woodward when they built Pepsi. And Pepsi has honestly been in some discussions on if they need additional build out at that facility. So technically, all of that land, there's a world where all of that land is gone in the next 4 or 5 months. That then creates this 35 acres, which I have an active project, which is a well-known brand that's looking for distribution and warehousing space. That's that 500,000 to 600,000 square foot space. That land came off the market because one of the owners passed away. I got a hold of the real estate person who talked with the family. The family would be interested in hearing an offer. That company, through their land person, is ready to put an LOI on that acreage and turn in an LOI to purchase that land, which if they turn it in tomorrow, I will get it to the realtor and get it to the family. That land is interesting because there is a high power transmission line from Centerpoint, the red line that comes through it. And so we did a little, as this project started taking shape, we did a little bit of math here. It was listed at 40 acres. There's probably about 32 acres. Normally the high transmission line has like 100 and some feet easement on either side of it. So it'd be a conversation with Centerpoint, whether there's some spots that can get paved or where they can put an entry road and stuff like that, but you couldn't obviously build anything within that. So it creates this 30.5 acre parcel, a little parcel out front, and then you have that easement. We looked at where utilities are located in water and sewer. There's sewer manholes at different locations that they could tap into, and water they could tap into, and we looked at, they shouldn't have any problem with elevations over here. So just putting it on your radar that there may be a project, North Warwick Industrial Park adjacent, let's say, that is very interested. So that conversation in the park, I think, needs to happen. You know, what's next was these 35 acres, but if that is coming off the table. And we know that there's utility upgrades coming, where we can handle more stuff. Then the question is, what's next from there? Like, where else do we go get the next 40 acre, 80 acre parcel? To start putting projects. I think that if these things would happen, it will help. It'll help the area, it'll help population, it'll help amenities, it'll help some other things happen. So when we look at what's next, this may be hard to see. We can talk about up at North Warwick, what's next, but looking at Warwick County, I just want to give everyone a high level view. Everything in the top picture is in dark, it's surface mined, and in blue, it's underground mined. If you layer the mine in Warwick County with the floodway and the floodplain area in Warwick County, which is all of this, you get this, which is hard to see, but if it's not in this brown area, this brown area on top of this blue area is either reclaimed mine land or in the floodplain. So anything that's solid black doesn't have either of those colors on it. And as you look, there's really not, businesses want to be, the industry wants to be near the interstate. So there's not a lot of space. I mean, this is all good space, but that's all housing. Some of this stuff up by Bluegrass is low. It's not in the floodplain, but it's low. So there is a real conversation to be had moving forward on what's next and where those spots are. I still think out north of Alcoa, between Alcoa and the solar project and expanding up at North Warwick are our two best bets. By Alcoa, it's not next to the interstate, but you have the river, you have rail already there, you have the power plant there, you're not far from water and sewer. And so I think there's a lot of positive, especially for heavier industrial like Alcoa and Kaiser.
We have in the next 5 years, MISO has all their new transport coming.
Okay,
Do what?
So like our MISO system that creates like the greater loop, we call like those sections of tranche. And so MISO is paying in for us to build out that greater loop. And so a section of that comes from where Duke connects down to Alcoa is the part that MISO is paying for. And so
Can
that,
we
I
get a
think,
map or something that
yeah.
shows where your lines go?
well, I mean, so our 340 or our, right now our 180, which will be upgraded, I believe the 345 will come out of Alcoa. For that, our power plant, you
Yep.
know, next door, and so it'll go up north, however that line runs now. And so, like, if we think about it, there's two ways to look at it. That's already being paid for by MISO, and so it can be an incentive to a potential company that they're not having to pay for the upgrade on, and it's not gonna go into rate base because our rate base has already occurred, right? So you could make an argument there that if we could find the right opportunity,
Correct.
that would be a good spot. I think it's 2032 is completion of that.
okay,
So just,
that's good to know.
If you have a map or
Yeah.
something, you could send Steve, that'd be
I
great.
mean,
yeah, I'll talk to Justin and have him send over. He's got some good documents.
Okay,
Weird.
so I just think that this group needs to be thinking about what's next. We still got a ways to go in North Warwick and some other stuff, but we want to start thinking about it. Okay, couple of good updates. We gave the school corporation a grant, what, 2.5 months ago? And their students are already using the equipment. So we paid for a bulldozer
Did
and
Brad get it right? He was really hoping he could.
Brad
write.
is dying.
what you need to tell Brad is that we brought the bulldozer.
We all got to
Sorry,
start
Brad.
in the parking lot.
Yeah, if someone could just AI Photoshop us all taking a joyride holding onto the bulldozer. We'll send it to Brad, but I mean, quick turnaround, in use this school year, it's all fantastic. Yankeetown Fire,
It's got Steve's name on it somewhere.
it does not. Yankeetown Fire, hopefully their vehicle will be ready next month, and I'll share that when that's done. They couldn't be more thankful for that, and so. With some other things that have come up, we're still kind of looking out of the 61 TIF, we talked about all these projects. I'm still working through getting some answers and some final costs. Because I'd like to, looking at the success of that, I'd like to see what's next, and that's coming. We're just waiting on some cost and some design stuff. So that we can make a good recommendation to the board to spend those dollars. So. That is all I got unless the board has other redevelopment business.
Motion to adjourn, motion?
Second.
Okay. Adjourned.
I don't know.
I'm gonna.
All right, are we off?